DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health. At Merck Animal Health, we're shaping the future of animal health with pioneering science, connected technology, and insights-driven solutions to bring our customers an unparalleled portfolio of choices to improve cattle care and operational efficiency. We support you and your legacy by helping you meet the challenges of today with the innovations of tomorrow.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. We're going to have a great show. We have Dr. Jacob Hagenmaier. He's going to join us today. We're going to talk about research. We're going to talk about how we get products approved and then how we do research after they're approved to make sure they're doing the right thing for the right animals for your operation. Stay tuned.
When you spot BRD in your cattle, that's your golden opportunity to target infection and its associated fever with a single dose of Resflor Gold, the industry standard dual therapy. To learn more, talk to your Merck Animal Health rep or your vet and see label at resflorgold.com. Animals intended for human consumption must not be slaughtered within 38 days of treatment. This product is not approved for use in female dairy cattle 20 months of age or older, including dry dairy cows.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson here with my friend and colleague, Dr. Jacob Hagenmaier. Dr. Jacob is a veterinarian and he also has a PhD in diagnostic medicine and pathobiology. He is the lead scientist here for us at Production Animal Consultation. Just does tremendous work and he's had such a rich experience in beef cattle research from pre-approval and new development all the way to phase 4 and how it works in feed yards and cow-calf operations. He has his own cows, has his own operation with his dad and his brothers in rural Riley County, and just it's great to have you.
Yeah, thanks. Pleasure to be here, Dan.
So we're going to talk about research, and we're going to talk about basically approval of some of the different types of pharmaceuticals, but there's really two types of governing bodies, right?
Right. Yeah. So the FDA and the USDA.
So the Food and Drug Administration, the United States Department of Agriculture, and what is the difference between those two and what they regulate?
Yeah. So from a high level, the FDA approves and regulates pharmaceutical drugs.
Yep.
So things like antimicrobial drugs, medicated feed additives. USDA would be more the biologics. So typically thinking more vaccines.
Okay. So vaccines, USDA, drugs and dewormers and things like that, FDA, implants, FDA.
Yep.
What do companies have to go through to get a drug or a new implant or something like that approved for us in the beef industry?
Yeah, it's almost like anything in life. Until you actually have to do it and understand it, you probably don't appreciate it as much as you should. And my first role professionally after graduating from Kansas State with my PhD was actually working for one of the biggest animal health companies in research and development. And the time and financial investment and interdisciplinary collaborations required to get new drugs to market is nothing short of remarkable. And I mean, the best way that I can kind of summarize it is these guys literally have to live in the future because they're not thinking about what does the industry need today, because the guys that worked there 10, 15 years ago were the ones that were thinking about that. It's what does the beef industry, the poultry industry, the swine industry, what technologies, what innovation are those guys going to need to feed a growing planet with less resources, less land, 10, 15 years from now? And so really visionary folks, very talented individuals. And something, again, that I didn't appreciate until I was part of it. I'm very blessed to have that perspective, being on the field side of it, because it's important, as we buy those products from those companies, sure, we look at it as an expense, but that's also an investment into the future and future innovation.
And I think it's very important that you bring that out, that we have pioneer companies out there that are developing products. We have other companies out there that when patents expire, they come along and sell generics. Both of them serve important roles,
Yep.
But those pioneer companies really need some kudos and a little propping up because they're the ones thinking about what we're going to need in the future.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the financial investment, right? There's a certain timeline they've got to recoup, return on investment.
Yep.
And because we all know what happens to markets when products get genericized. And so the patent life remaining after approval is vitally important to the ability for that company that innovated to see the return on that investment.
Yep. Well, this is great information, getting us rolling, getting us kicked off here on understanding research, understanding approval. When we come back, we're going to talk with Dr. Hagenmaier a little bit more about what kind of goes into these approval processes and what do the FDA and USDA, what are they doing to help keep us safe? Thanks for watching Doc Talk. We'll be right back.
This Cattle Intel is brought to you by Neogen.
Hello there, Dr. Nick Wagner, Professional Services Veterinarian with Neogen here today, and just wanted to take a brief moment to talk about water access in feedlots. And with that being the case, you want to make sure, based on the size and number of cattle in your feed yard, that they have free access to water at all times. You want to make sure that those water sources have the proper flow to be able to provide adequate intakes for those animals, because the other big thing with water is that the water intakes will directly impact feed intakes on those cattle. And so if you're not able to get the amount of water those animals need or get them access to water, especially in the heat of summer, you're going to have trouble with the health and performance of those animals. And you also want to make sure that you're keeping a close eye on your tanks within the feed yard to make sure that you're keeping them clean and avoiding any sources of contamination, which also could have an impact on the health and productivity of those animals in your feed yard.
Thanks for watching Cattle Intel by Neogen.
Are you a cattle feeder looking to manage for a stronger and more profitable set of cattle? Look no further than Igenity Feeder. Igenity Feeder utilizes DNA to gain insight into your cattle's genomic potential, with the information to predict performance, quality, and economic endpoints for cattle feeders. Animals are scored and ranked in a simple format, driving more precise and accurate management decisions. Igenity Feeder gives you the power to predict days on feed, manage variability within lots, characterize carcass performance, and focus on metrics important to you and your operation. With the data provided, you will identify superior animals earlier and maintain high operational efficiency. Maximize your profit and optimize performance with Igenity Feeder.
When it comes to treating BRD, you want a product that you can count on to get the job done at an affordable price. Macrocin by Bimeda delivers on both. A straight shooting, no BS tulathromycin that does what it's supposed to do. End of story. You don't need to take our word for it though. Go to macrocin.com for customer testimonials and head-to-head trial results. For your cattle and your bottom line, choose Macrocin.
John McCurry with McCurry Angus Ranch. We are standing right now in our fall yearling bull pen. On our first initial run with therapies, we commingled 3 separate different pens of bulls together for the ones that's in the sale and had virtually no issues with these cattle in terms of commingling them and their attitudes towards each other. Didn't have the riding and the fighting that we normally can experience. And I would highly recommend us using therapies and would recommend that to anybody else looking to do so.
Hey folks, welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Jacob Hagenmaier. Dr. Hagenmaier is a chief scientist for Production Animal Consultation. He's served many roles in beef cattle research internationally. Tickled to have him on the show today here in Kansas with me. And you know, as we left, we're going to jump into FDA approval. But before we start to do pivotal research, there's some discovery research, right?
Yeah, call it discovery, call it pilot. To your point, before a sponsor or an animal health company comes to the FDA to say, hey, I want to go down this regulatory pathway to pursue an investigational new animal drug approval, a lot of times they'll come to companies, ours being one, to do early pilot or discovery studies to say, you know, conceptually we have this drug, we think in this formulation for this type of, this animal, this species, beef, cattle, poultry, swine, what be it, for this indication. And historically, a lot of performance and health-based claims as we look into the future, maybe looking at technologies through a different lens a little bit, sustainability, environmental impact, but nonetheless, doing a little bit of their homework before they engage the regulatory authorities to start the official drug approval process.
So once they start that approval process, then it's pretty much laid out. what steps they have to go and what type of research they have to complete, correct?
Yeah, so the FDA, just like anything in life, would say the biggest key to success is to communicate. And so we call it concurrence. The animal health companies will go, they'll meet with the FDA, they'll talk through the product approval, what they're thinking for a developmental plan, what the FDA thinks, what they see are the shortcomings or potential holes, and what studies are needed to fill those. And then to complete all the technical sections, as companies are developing those protocols, often they'll have meetings to concur with the FDA and say, for the purpose of this pivotal study, whether it be efficacy, safety, the other sections, does the protocol as written and experimental design, does it accomplish what the agency wants to see to have faith in the approval and have the basis to approve that section?
Perfect. And then within those different sections, there are different, obviously there's the one just to show that the drug or the implant or whatever does what we said it's going to do in the animal, the efficacy, right?
Right.
But beyond that, there's a whole realm of things that the FDA wants to make sure of as far as safety for many different levels, right?
Yeah, we could spend a lot of time on this, and we've only got so much, so I'll give a high-level synopsis, but there's up to 5 technical sections.
Okay.
And so for livestock, you already alluded to 2 of them, safety, target animal safety,
so
and
the
effectiveness.
Animal.
Yes.
Yep.
So a product we give to cattle, is it safe to cattle? Mm-hmm. And based on that, they'll determine, safety level and margin of safety relative to efficacious dose. Yep. And so, for instance, if the efficacious dose is the same as the lowest safety dose, there's a problem, right? Because you don't have margin of safety. The other sections being human food safety. So we talk about, food animals, livestock specifically, how fast is the drug metabolized, or are the residues, removed from the body? Mm-hmm. And they calculate tolerance, and then they adjust for the different tissues and daily intakes to know what the actual withdrawal period is.
Okay.
So the withdrawal period that people see on their labels actually goes all the way back to human intake, laboratory safety studies to know that it's safe for us.
Yep.
For that to be administered to livestock. Then the other 2, chemistry, manufacturing, and control, or in chemistry, just can they make it consistently and pure? And then environmental impact. So looking at it, does it affect migratory birds? Does it affect the ecosystem? And there's different
when it's
assessment.
Excreted from the animal and things.
Yep. So manure handling, what impact does that have on the environment?
Efficacy, safety in the animal, withdrawal time, and
human food safety,
toxicology or safety,
chemistry, manufacturing.
Doing it correctly, and then the last one is environmental safety.
Yep.
It's a lot to get a drug approved. This guy knows what he's doing. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more with Dr. Hagenmaier about research and approval of products. You're watching DocTalk, and we're glad you joined us.
Plant the seeds of financial security today with United Patriot Coins Precious Metal Starter Pack, the Patriot Pack. Exclusive offer for our DocTalk family. Call now and secure your financial future. Strengthen your roots with silver and gold. Call United Patriot Coin today and ask for the DocTalk special offer.
In the livestock industry, castration is a common practice to ensure proper herd management. All methods are painful, regardless of the age of the animal. At Solvit, we could not ignore the clear industry need for better castration solutions. So we developed LidoBand, a novel lidocaine-impregnated elastrator, addressing the pain associated with band castration. It provides local anesthesia throughout the castration process. LidoBand, a small device that can make a big difference.
They're here, they're hungry, and they can't be stopped with ivermectin. Choose Safeguard when you deworm your cattle to take out resistant parasites like brown stomach worm, Cooperia, Nematodyrus, and others. With Safeguard's efficacy, you can kill more resistant worms in your cattle, so you don't leave potential on the table. Consult your veterinarian for the diagnosis and treatment of parasitism. Then bite back at safeguardworks.com.
Ranchers, looking to elevate your pasture management game? Turn to Heinen Brothers for expert aerial application. With state-of-the-art equipment and seasoned pilots, we deliver precision treatments right to your fields. From fertilizers to herbicides, Heinen Brothers has your pasture covered. Visit HeinenBrosAg.com to learn more.
When the ones who have your heart need your help, count on us for everything they deserve, delivered fast. We'll work hard for you so you can work hard for your dreams.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson, and I'm here with Dr. Jacob Hagenmaier. And Dr. Hagenmaier is a chief scientist, a beef cattle researcher with me, and works at Production Animal Consultation, where I also work. And we've worked together for
almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years, and it's a pleasure to go to work every day with Dr. Jacob and to have him on the show. It just amazes me the amount of research you have done, but what we continue to do to bring products, and we'll get into that in the last section. But talk about a label. You know, what comes out in that I open up the bottle and there's this paper that's folded over the top of that bottle, and I open it up and I go,
yeah.
So tell me about that.
Yeah, so in the previous segment, you did a good job of teeing up the technical sections we've got to satisfy. And those are the major sections. And then there's minor sections, and one of those being labeling. So we've got all this research to show it's safe and effective and safe for humans, and they can make it, and it's okay for the environment. And now it's the label, right? And it's what you always hear the drug companies talking about, and it's on every detailer, the indication. And so really that is a collaborative discussion between the sponsor and the FDA, looking at the body of evidence they have to get the drug approved, to make a label that says, you know, is this used to prevent, treat, mitigate this disease? It's used in these types of cattle or these types of animals in this production phase. And then regimen, right? So dose, duration, frequency, all of that, because ultimately some of our drugs, fluoroquinolones being the best example, right, because of their importance to human medicine, extra label drug use is prohibited, illegal.
Right.
And so just an example of a critical importance when it comes to those labeling discussions, because what's on that label is what that drug's going to be able to be used for.
Right, and how it's used and what dose and which animal.
Right.
Even whether it's sub-Q or IM.
Right, exactly, and even a gender. I mean, if all of the safety studies or what be it were in steers, for example, the agency can look at that and say, for approved, you know, used in steers, but not heifers. And so that's why it's important in these animal health companies. I applaud them, because the minds that go into it as they're designing these development programs to make sure they've got a comprehensive label that fits the needs of the industry. It's a lot of foresight. Again, you know, previously I said living in the future, and those guys really, they've got to be 2-3 steps ahead of the curve to make sure the label accommodates, you know, the potential of the drug and really what the industry needs.
So then the pioneer companies develop these products. They have a patent,
right,
that protects it for X number of years. And then we see generic development. What has to happen for the generics to get their approval?
Yeah, and it's a complex answer because it's not always the same. Depending on what the studies look like and the genericized drug, you know, an antimicrobial versus a feed additive, there might be certain pieces of the approval process that have to be redone. Sometimes they can piggyback on safety data of the pioneer, but, you know, a good example of one thing that typically has to be done is bioequivalence. So if we think about injectables, you know, is it absorbed by the body? Are the pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics the same as they are in the Pioneer? Is it excreted? Does it get the same AUC, area under curve, you know, the pharmacokinetic stuff that we need somebody a lot smarter than me to talk through, but do they show the same profile as the Pioneer to, you know, to repeat the same effect the Pioneer has?
But they don't have to go through
not the entire, not the entire process.
Perfect. Well, it's a bunch, and this is just very fascinating information about a lot of things, of something that we take for granted every day when we pull a bottle out and go to give an injection. When we come back, we're going to talk about phase 4 research or post-approval research and how that impacts your operation. Thanks for joining us here on DocTalk. Hey folks, for your firearm and ammo needs, for gun safes and much, much more, and to have it personalized, come visit us at United Patriot Supply outside of Seneca, Kansas. You can also visit us online at unitedpatriotsupply.com. Be sure to say that Dr. Dan and DocTalk sent you, and we'll see you down the road.
Hey, I'm Clark Victory. I grew up right here on this little ranch near Chelsea, Oklahoma. Roped and ranched all my life. A few years ago, I had a injury that created what they call a frozen shoulder. And after speaking with the surgeon in Tulsa, he told me that he could make my shoulder better if he did surgery, but he absolutely couldn't fix it. And I called Kansas Regenerative Medical Center. I did the stem cell replacement. By 12:30, my wife and I had lunch and was driving back to Chelsea. We work around here. Some days we work pretty hard around here, and my right shoulder doesn't get sore. It's like a baby's arm.
One animal has this huge impact on your operation.
BVDV is one of the most costly bovine diseases, with losses of $15 to $88 per head.
The virus will actually cross the placenta and get into the fetus. As it's developing, its immune system will recognize that virus as it's supposed to be here. And so then that's where our persistently infected animals come from. They're going to shed that virus their entire life, and then it's going to impact your operation.
It is important to work with your local veterinarian and partner with IDEXX for the best solution for your operation.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson and Dr. Jacob Hagenmaier. We're here in Kansas, where Dr. Hagenmaier is a chief scientist and works here at Production Animal Consultation with me, where we do research. We also do a lot of pivotal work. We do post-approval work. And now we're going to talk about, Dr. Jacob, when it's approved and now it goes out in the country. What are some things that are monitored?
Yeah, so this is the fun part, right? Get the drug approved, and now it's handed off from the R&D folks to the commercial folks, and it's in the hands of our producers to serve the goal that it was dreamed of 15, 20 years ago, because that's how long a fuse we're talking a lot of times on approval pipeline or approval pathways for some of these drugs. So I guess first and foremost, it's not like you get a drug approved and that's the end of the finish line. There's always, if there's adverse events, those are being reported by the sponsor to the FDA periodically to ensure the drug is safe, the manufacturing of it's still good. So it's a continuum, always, making sure that I've got a good product. For us in the field and, PAC, all of our clients, it's really an opportunity, and historically speaking, to be an early adopter and understand best use programs. Because again, we talked about the labeling, and a lot of times, if a drug company is doing it the right way, they've given a pretty good box, right, to be able to use the drug. And then there's opportunity for scientists with their clients to really dive into it and understand when is the right scenario for production drugs to optimize return on investment. Again, best use programs. For animal health products, BRD treatments, for instance, that's when there's relative efficacy studies to look at other drugs on the market and understand, in this class of cattle, this many days on feed, if we suspect this bacterium, this class of antibiotic, and understand, and that's our job as consultants and researchers, is to be able to, in a high quality manner, conduct research with a lot of rigor to be able to go to them confidently and say, this is evidence-based medicine to use this drug for this purpose in this beast.
On that point, let's do the flip side. Someone comes in, sets a bottle down on the desk for one of our, ranchers or managers. What are things that you're looking for? I know, first of all, is there some research behind it?
Right.
But once there is some research, what are some of the fatal flaws, or why is it important for you to take a look at the studies and critically evaluate how they were done?
Yeah, so not all research is created equal, right? A fatal flaw is a subjective outcome without blinding. And so we've all been there. We've all had the discussions of, man, doc, I gave this pen of cattle this vaccine, or this pen of cattle this vaccine, and I swear by this one. And we're confounded by, many different variables, seasonality, source of the cattle. So when we're actually designing research trials, it's important that we randomize. Mm-hmm. It's important that we blind when we can and when appropriate.
And what you mean by blind is that I don't know which treatments are assigned to which cattle.
Right. Those who are doing the outcome measurements don't know what got what.
Yep.
Statistical replication. So we just naturally expect variation. That's a whole nother deal that we don't need to get in the weeds today, but we replicate it enough times to have confidence ultimately in the outcome, whether it's favorable, negative, or no difference.
So there is a lot that goes into making sure the research that's done is done correctly, and making sure you have somebody that can interpret that for you is vital. And then the last one, you kind of mentioned early adoption, and research doesn't just happen overnight. So there's a lag phase from when we do a trial to when it hits publication or when it hits the public eye. And so there is some itemization or importance to being a good research team for early adoption.
Right, absolutely. And it's our job to our clients to help them be early adopters, because eventually in industry, production drugs specifically is kind of what we're talking about here. Once the whole industry knows, it's almost a cost of production, right?
Yep.
And we can talk about different feed additives or implants, but at some point, that's in everybody's break even. But for those who can have the best use programs and early adopter, there's significant value that they can realize early in a technology's life.
It's perfect. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for watching the show. Remember, if you want to find more about DocTalk, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. Always work with your local veterinarian. With Dr. Jacob Hagenmaier, I'm Dr. Dan Thomson. We'll see you down the road.
At Merck Animal Health, we support you and your legacy by helping you meet the challenges of today with the innovations of tomorrow.